Hello, econ students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your notes for Chapter 3, Section 3, talking about nonprofit organizations. So follow along. Here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about nonprofit organizations. These are economic organizations that operate like businesses, but they don't seek financial gain. And a great example of that would be like the American Red Cross. And if you look below, there is kind of a series of different logos here that you see for other nonprofit organizations. So Roman number 1, community organizations and cooperatives. Some examples of community organizations: these are legally incorporated to take advantage of unlimited life and limited liability. Schools, churches, hospitals, welfare groups, adoption agencies are all examples of these community organizations. They do not have to pay dividends, nor do they have to pay taxes. Nonprofits must use scarce factors of production to complete whatever it is that they're doing. And their work is difficult to analyze economically because the value of their efforts is not easy to measure. So if you're talking about, let's say, an organization like Habitat for Humanity, we know that they're building homes, and that certainly has an economic factor for communities and for people who are recipients of these homes. But at the same time, we can't really start taking into account all the labor that goes into that and how that is being valued. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily easy to keep track of. Moving on, cooperatives. Cooperatives or co-ops, these are nonprofit organizations or associations that perform some kind of economic activity for the benefit of its members. And there are 3 different categories of these cooperatives. There is a consumer co-op. This is a voluntary association that buys bulk amounts of goods, such as clothing or food, on the behalf of its members. Members keep the costs low or keep costs down by devoting several hours to the operation. You can also have service co-ops. They provide services such as insurance, credit, childcare to its members rather than a good. You can have like a credit union as an example of a service co-op. This is a nonprofit or nonprofit service cooperative that accepts deposits. It makes loans and provides other financial services. So locally, that would be like the Columbus United Federal Credit Union. And then there are producer co-ops. They help members promote and sell their products. And in farming, that could be organizations like Ocean Spray, which kind of started off marketing cranberries in the state of Wisconsin. But it could also be, farmer co-ops that might have a regional impact, such as the co-op that we have here in town. Labor, professional, and business organizations. So labor unions, this is an organization that works for its members' interest concerning things like pay, working conditions, and benefits. Collective bargaining is something that labor unions typically do, and they can negotiate between the union and the company's representatives over things like pay, benefits, and other job-related matters. When we talk about lobbying, lobby basically for laws that benefit and protect their workers. So lobby is kind of a political science term that basically means going forth and negotiating. That's kind of how that's all done. The AFL-CIO is an example of a labor union. It's basically one of the largest labor unions here in the United States. Another would be the NEA, which is the National Education Association, also a fairly large teacher union based on just the skills of the workers. Letter B, professional associations. Professional associations, these are nonprofit organizations for professional and specialized workers seeking to improve working conditions, skill levels, public perceptions of its professional members. The American Medical Association is an example of that, or the American Bar Association. So we're looking at an organization with the AMA with doctors and the ABA with attorneys. They can influence licensing and training. They also set the standards of conduct. They're involved in political issues. This could also be, including groups like the NEA, the National Education Association, but you could also throw in organizations that represent police officers and bankers and so forth. Business associations, they promote collective interest. Chamber of Commerce is an example of a business association. It's a nonprofit organization of local businesses. It's formed to promote their interest. So you could be looking at like the Columbus, Nebraska area Chamber of Commerce or the Norfolk, Nebraska area Chamber of Commerce as examples of that. They sometimes sponsor activities ranging from education programs to lobbying for favorable business legislation. The Better Business Bureau, or the BBB, they're a business sponsored nonprofit organization providing information on local companies to consumers. And businesses that are rated by the BBB usually are some of the better ones that are out there in the community. And if you're a consumer and you're wanting to use the services of people in your community, if they have a rating from the BBB, usually you can trust that their services are quality. All right, government. Government is a nonprofit economic organization and the direct role of government. Government agencies produce and distribute goods and services to consumers, giving government a direct role in the economy. So examples of that would be like the Tennessee Valley Authority or the FDIC, the U.S. Postal Service, all are examples of that. Federal agencies are government-owned companies that charge fees for their products. Congress, for the most part, supplies them some of the funding. And examples of that would be like your public libraries, your public pools, your community pools, your parks, and even some of your roads. The indirect role of government. Government acts as an umpire to help the market economy operate smoothly and efficiently. Public utilities, such as your power companies and your water and such. These are companies providing an essential service such as water or electricity to consumers. And because public utilities have few competitors, consumers want the government to supervise them. And part of that is to prevent like a monopoly from happening. So veterans benefits, Social Security, financial aid for college students, unemployment compensation, rent subsidies, all are examples that would fall under this. Thank you very much.